The Resolute emerged from the nebula into clear space, its hull glinting under the light of distant stars. The battle with the Dominion was behind them, but the political storm awaiting them at Aurelia loomed larger than ever. Lyra and Ethan stood together on the bridge, observing the stars and the subtle hum of the ship beneath their feet. "We're approaching Aurelia," Ethan said. "Prepare for landing." "Things may not be friendly." Lyra's violet eyes narrowed. "My father's council expects me to return as a puppet, not a princess who has faced real danger. And your superiors will demand that the union be annulled." Ethan rested a hand on her shoulder. "Then we show them that we're more than symbols. We're capable. Together." The planet of Aurelia grew larger in the viewscreen, its crystalline towers glittering like frozen stars. As the Resolute entered orbit, a fleet of Aurelia's royal ships moved to intercept them. Lyra felt her stomach tighten. Even after months away, the sight of her world stirred pride and fear in equal measure. Upon docking, they were met by an official escort. Lyra's father, King Zathar, waited in the central landing hall, flanked by council members whose faces were masks of expectation and suspicion. "Princess Lyra," the king said, his voice echoing through the vast hall, "you return from exile. Tell me, do you understand the gravity of your actions?" Lyra bowed lightly, her posture regal yet unwavering. "I understand, father. I have seen the strength of humans, the courage of our alliance, and the danger that threatens us all. I return not as a pawn, but as a witness to what is possible," the council murmured. Some frowned. Others looked intrigued. Ethan stepped forward. "Your Majesty," he said calmly, "the Dominion is not finished. They manipulate and divide. We can either let them succeed or we can stand together and stop them." The king's eyes flicked to Ethan. "And you, human, what would you suggest?" Ethan straightened. "I suggest a joint effort, Aurelia and Earth side by side. The Dominion underestimated what we could achieve together." Lyra felt a surge of pride. She had expected resistance, but she had also expected her people to see reason once shown proof. Now it was a question of courage and leadership. Later, in a private chamber, Lyra and Ethan reviewed intelligence on the Dominion. Maps displayed fleet positions, supply lines, and hidden bases. "They've been sowing distrust between humans and Aurelians for years," Lyra said, tracing a route with her finger. "All our conflicts were planned, orchestrated." Ethan nodded. "We need a strike plan, precise, fast, and coordinated. We have the advantage, surprise, and combined strengths." Lyra studied him. "And do you trust me to lead part of it?" "I don't just trust you," Ethan replied. "I depend on you." They spent hours planning, blending human strategy with Aurelia energy tactics. Lyra found herself impressed by Ethan's mind. Humans often relied on improvisation, and his ability to anticipate outcomes in real time was extraordinary. Together, their plan was a perfect fusion of precision and adaptability. The next day, they led a strike team in Aurelia's fastest ships. Lyra guided the energy shields and directed attacks using her Aurelia abilities, while Ethan coordinated the human pilots. Dominion forces were caught off guard. The battle was fierce, but unlike the previous engagements, Aurelia and Earth fought as one. Lyra deflected blasts with her violet energy, while Ethan's teams disabled Dominion engines. The Dominion's leaders attempted to retreat, but they were surrounded. Finally, the Dominion flagship was immobilized. Lyra and Ethan led a boarding party, entering the ship with calm determination. Inside, the Dominion officers were stunned. They had expected disunity, weakness, and fear. Instead, they faced humans and Aurelians acting as equals, moving with precision, courage, and a confidence that was impossible to ignore. Lyra stepped forward. "Your schemes end here. You have underestimated what can be accomplished when two species work together." The Dominion commander sneered. "This is temporary. We will return." Ethan placed a hand on Lyra's shoulder. "Perhaps. But today you've lost." With the Dominion subdued, they returned to Aurelia as heroes. Crowds gathered to witness their return. People cheered, though some whispered in awe and disbelief. Humans and Aurelians had fought side by side, and their success could not be denied. King Zathar approached his daughter. "Lyra," he said quietly, "you have changed. You are no longer the princess I punished. You are a leader." Lyra looked at him steadily. "I have learned much, father. Not just from Aurelia, but from Earth. Strength comes in many forms. Courage, trust, and cooperation are as important as power." He studied Ethan. "And you, human, have proven yourself invaluable. Ethan bowed respectfully. I only did what I had to do. The king nodded slowly. Then it seems this union is more than a punishment. Perhaps it is a lesson for us all. Lyra smiled faintly. She had expected distrust, rejection, even humiliation. Instead, she found acknowledgement and a chance to change the future. That evening, she and Ethan walked among the glowing towers of Aurelia. Citizens watched them with fascination. Some came forward to thank them, others simply stared. Lyra felt something she had not felt since leaving her world, a sense of belonging. Ethan looked at her. You did well today. Lyra's violet eyes met his. We did well, together. They continued walking in silence. Words were not necessary. The trust and respect they had built during the trials on the moon and in battle spoke louder than any speech could. Later, in her private chambers, Lyra reflected on the events. She realized that what had begun as punishment, a forced union, had become a journey of discovery. She had learned about humanity, about courage, and about herself. She had found strength not in isolation but in connection. Ethan, in his quarters, looked at the stars through the viewing window. He thought of Aurelia, of Lyra, and of what they had accomplished. He had learned that humans were not alone in the universe in their ingenuity. Working with Aurelians, they could achieve far more than either species could alone. A quiet message from the Dominion reached the Council, a warning of future attacks. But Lyra and Ethan were ready. They had learned that survival depended not on power alone, but on trust, courage, and collaboration. For the first time, Lyra considered a future she could choose. No longer a pawn of politics or punishment, she saw herself as a bridge between two worlds, capable of shaping alliances, protecting her people, and embracing humanity's strength. As the city of Aurelia glowed beneath them, she whispered softly to herself. Perhaps this union was never punishment. Perhaps it was destiny. Ethan, reading her thought through the bond, replied silently, Destiny is ours to create. And for the first time, both understood that their bond was no longer a punishment, no longer a political tool. It was a partnership, one that could change the fate of entire civilizations. The stars waited beyond the city's towers, full of dangers and wonders. But Lyra and Ethan, united by choice and forged in challenge, were ready to face whatever came next. Together, the city of Aurelia shimmered under the twin suns as Princess Lyra walked beside Captain Ethan Cole. Months of trials had passed. The Dominion had been weakened. Alliances had been tested, and Aurelia had seen a new kind of strength in action. Yet the final challenge awaited. A council meeting was called to decide the future of the Aurelia Human Union. King Zathar presided, flanked by his advisors and council members. The tension in the room was thick. Many feared the unknown. Many clung to old traditions. Some admired the courage Lyra had shown, yet their pride prevented them from admitting it fully. Lyra took a deep breath. Her violet eyes scanned the council. My father, my people, she began, her voice clear and firm. I return not only from exile but from experience. I have seen humans fight, endure, and survive in ways we never imagined. I have worked alongside them, learned from them, and faced dangers that none of us could face alone. A murmur ran through the council. Some leaned forward, listening. Some frowned, unwilling to believe. Ethan stepped beside her. Your Highness, your people, I speak as an observer and a partner. Humans and Aurelians can achieve far more together than apart. The Dominion sought to divide us, but we have proven that unity is stronger than fear. A council member stood, an older Aurelia named Terran. Princess, this union was meant as punishment, not partnership. Are you saying that you support it willingly? Lyra turned to him, eyes unwavering. I am saying that what began as punishment became a lesson. I choose to stand with Captain Cole, with humans, and with those who have proven their courage. I choose partnership not because it is easy, but because it is right. The room fell silent. Even King Zathar studied her carefully. His daughter had grown beyond expectations. She had faced exile, danger, and battle, and now returned as a leader in her own right. He spoke finally. Then it is decided. The Union stands, not as a punishment, but as a symbol of strength, courage, and cooperation. Let it be known across Aurelia and Earth alike that our two peoples can face any threat together. Cheers erupted from the council chamber. Citizens outside who had gathered to hear the verdict erupted in celebration. Humans and Aurelians alike felt a sense of hope that had been absent for decades. Later, in the palace gardens, Lyra and Ethan walked among glowing flora that shimmered with Aurelia's natural energy. It was peaceful, a stark contrast to the battles they had faced. "You did well," Ethan said, breaking the silence. Lyra glanced at him, a faint smile. The Resolute moved steadily through the empty blackness of space. Stars streaked past like silver threads, and the ship hummed under the pressure of faster-than-light travel. Princess Lyra stood in the observation dome, her violet eyes tracing every movement of the stars. She had begun to feel something strange aboard this human vessel, a mix of curiosity and respect. Yet she had no illusions about the dangers beyond the glass. Ethan entered quietly, leaning against the frame of the dome. "You're thinking too much," he said. Lyra turned, her expression calm. "I am not thinking. I am observing." "Observation is thinking," Ethan said with a faint smile. She raised an eyebrow. "You humans have strange words for everything." Before he could reply, the ship shuddered violently. Red lights flashed. Alarms rang. Ethan's chair bolted to the floor. "What now?" Lyra asked, her voice steady. Ethan's hands moved quickly over the controls. "Impact detected. External hull breach. Unknown object approaching fast." Lyra's eyes narrowed. She could sense the energy signature before the instruments detected it, a dark, jagged shape hurtling toward them. She felt a pulse of anger rise. This is no accident. The ship's sensors confirmed her intuition. A small fleet of Vorn Dominion fighters had emerged from a hidden nebula. Their ships were black, angular, and bristling with weapons. The Dominion had been watching, waiting for a chance to strike. Ethan grabbed the microphone. "All hands, battle stations. Shields up, weapons ready." Lyra moved to stand beside him. "I will assist," she said. He looked at her. "This is dangerous. You can be injured." "I have faced worse," she replied. "Your people are clever, but your machines are limited. Together we can survive." The first Vorn fighter struck. Energy beams hit the outer hull, sparking fire across the plating. Lyra reached out with her hand. A wave of soft violet light emanated from her palm, forming a shield that pushed back the energy blasts. Crew members gawked at the display, unsure if it was magic or advanced technology. Ethan gave a quick order. "Divert power to front shields. Target the lead fighter." The Resolute's weapons fired, precise pulses of blue energy striking the enemy ship's engines. One fighter spun out of control and exploded in a bright flash. Lyra felt the second fighter approaching and instinctively raised another shield. The violet barrier shimmered, absorbing energy and redirecting it harmlessly into space. She glanced at Ethan, who was sweating but focused. His mind moved quickly, adjusting power outputs, calculating trajectories, and giving orders. "You are remarkable," he said between commands. "And you are surprisingly brave," she replied. "Your people fight not just with weapons, but with thought." Another fighter appeared on the sensor screen. This one moved faster than the others, its weapons aimed directly at the ship's engines. Lyra stepped forward, concentrating. The violet light grew stronger, almost burning her hand. A pulse shot outward, knocking the fighter away and causing it to crash into a nearby asteroid. Ethan's voice was sharp. "Lyra, you can't keep doing this alone. Focus on supporting the shields." She realized he was right. She concentrated her energy on reinforcing the ship's shields. The Vorn fighters slammed into them repeatedly, their weapons creating sparks and jolts that shook the floor. Crew members gritted their teeth, holding their positions, inspired by the courage of both the human captain and the alien princess. The battle was intense, but the Resolute began to turn the tide. Ethan's skill with strategy combined with Lyra's energy manipulation created an unexpected advantage. Fighters fell one by one. The Dominion was not prepared for a human and an Aurelia working together so effectively. During a brief pause in the fighting, Lyra collapsed into a chair, exhausted. Ethan knelt beside her. "You okay?" "I am fine," she said, breathing hard. "Your people, your humans, they are stronger than I expected." "And you're stronger than I expected," Ethan said. "Your energy, your shields. You saved us more than once." Lyra studied him, noticing the sweat on his brow and the determination in his eyes. For the first time, she realized something. Humans did not need perfect conditions to survive. They relied on courage, instinct, and cooperation. Another warning sounded. More Dominion ships were entering the area. Ethan straightened, standing tall despite fatigue. Looks like they didn't learn, he said. Lyra nodded. Then we teach them. Together they coordinated the crew. Lyra focused on shielding vulnerable points, while Ethan directed the ship's weapons with precision. The human soldiers followed his orders efficiently, inspired by the presence of the princess fighting alongside them. During a critical moment, a Dominion fighter targeted the observation dome. Lyra reacted instantly, creating a dome of violet energy around it. The blast struck the barrier, sending shockwaves through the room, but the dome held. Ethan shouted, "Good work! Now full power to forward cannons." The forward cannons fired, hitting the lead enemy ship squarely. Its engines failed and it drifted helplessly. The remaining fighters, seeing their leader defeated, began to retreat. Ethan leaned back, wiping sweat from his brow. "They're running!" Lyra slumped in the chair, exhausted but relieved. "For now," she said. "The Dominion will return." Ethan placed a hand on her shoulder. "But we've shown them what happens when we work together." Lyra looked at him. "Perhaps humans and Aurelians are not so different after all." He smiled faintly. "You're starting to think like one of us." She didn't reply, but inside she felt the first spark of trust. For the first time since her punishment began, she did not feel completely alone. She saw strength in him, not just the physical strength of a trained soldier, but the courage to act, to protect, to lead. After the battle, the crew worked to repair the damage. Lyra assisted where she could, sensing the flow of energy in damaged circuits and helping stabilize them. Ethan watched her work, impressed by how quickly she adapted to the human ship and crew. By night, the Resolute sailed through quiet space, the stars blinking calmly outside. Lyra stood at the observation window again. She no longer felt only anger and fear. She felt something else: respect, curiosity, and even a faint spark of connection. Ethan joined her silently. "You know," he said softly, "not many humans get along with alien royalty this quickly." "I do not seek friendship," she said, but her tone was lighter. "I seek survival." "Sometimes survival is the first step to understanding," he said. Lyra considered this. She had spent her life believing power and obedience were everything. Now she saw another path: cooperation, courage, and trust. Perhaps humans had much to teach her, and perhaps, she thought silently, she had much to teach them as well. As the ship sailed through the darkness, Lyra and Ethan stood side by side, both aware of the dangers ahead, both aware of the strange bond forming between them. Somewhere in the void, the Vorn Dominion plotted their next move. But for now, the human captain and the alien princess had discovered something even more powerful than weapons or shields. They had discovered the strength of working together. The Resolute had barely escaped the Dominion fighters when an unexpected problem struck. A sudden energy storm, massive and chaotic, forced the ship to make an emergency landing on a barren moon. Its surface was rocky, gray, and lifeless. Dust swirled across craters and the weak sun barely penetrated the haze. The ship's hull groaned as it touched down. Ethan and Lyra surveyed the landing area through the observation dome. The sensors reported nothing alive beyond the occasional rock formation. The moon offered no shelter, no food, and no water. It was a survival test unlike anything either had faced before. "This isn't ideal," Ethan said, gripping the rail. "We'll need to ration supplies and repair what we can." Lyra nodded, her violet eyes scanning the horizon. "Nor is it impossible," she replied. "I can survive here, and so can your people. But only if we work together." Ethan's jaw tightened. "Then we start working together." The crew, nervous and unsure, followed their leaders. They divided tasks quickly. Some inspected the ship, others gathered rock samples and set up temporary shelters. Lyra took a separate path with Ethan to explore the immediate surroundings. The alien princess moved with an elegance that made the dust clouds curl in her wake. Ethan noticed her careful steps, the way she observed every detail. Even on a barren moon, she seemed at home in some strange way. "You're calm," he said. "I expected more panic." Lyra glanced at him. "Panic does not solve anything. It clouds the mind and wastes energy." "Fair point," he said, taking in the rocky landscape. "But humans panic. Sometimes it works in our favor, sometimes it doesn't." She studied him carefully. "You rely on instinct, and it is usually correct. That is why your species survives." Ethan almost smiled. "And you rely on what?" "Awareness," she said simply. "The ability to sense, observe, and react. They walked on in silence until they reached a narrow canyon. A small stream of strange, glowing liquid ran through it. Lyra knelt and touched it. It pulsed under her fingers, warm and alive. "This could be useful," she said. "It has properties similar to Aurelia's energy crystals. It may help repair the ship's power systems." Ethan raised an eyebrow. "You're saying you can fix our ship with moon goo?" Lyra looked at him, her expression serious. "Not with it alone. But if I work with your systems, yes. We can stabilize the engines." Back at the ship, Lyra began channeling her energy through the glowing liquid, letting it interact with the ship's damaged circuits. Sparks flew, not in day. The chamber was quiet, almost impossibly so. Sergeant Nathan Cole stood before the alien queen once again, this time in a private hall high above the thrumming city of Zetheria. The light from the green crystal walls glowed softly, reflecting off her silver scales and the shifting crown of living vines on her head. Her serpents coiled silently at her feet. "You have done well," she said finally, her voice calm but commanding. "Few have survived the infinite arena. Fewer still have resisted the final illusions. You are remarkable." Cole stood straight. He did not kneel. His heart still pounded from the trials, but he had learned something important. Fear could be faced and courage could shine even in the darkest moments. "Thank you," he said simply. "I only did what was right. My people deserve freedom. All your people deserve freedom." The queen's eyes narrowed slightly, not in anger but in curiosity. "Freedom," she repeated. "It is a human concept, is it not?" "Your species seems to value it above all else," Cole nodded. "It is worth fighting for. And worth standing for," she tilted her head. "You have survived challenges designed to break the mind, the body, and the spirit. And yet you stand. There is something else in you, something I have not seen in any other being." Cole glanced at the metal band on his wrist. Its faint glow pulsed rhythmically. The Anusha ward had carried him through every psychic test, every illusion, every fear the arena had thrown at him. He touched it lightly. The queen's eyes flicked to it. For the first time, something like recognition crossed her face. She moved closer, her serpent shifting with her. "That device, it was thought lost," she said. "Long ago it was used by rebels to resist my ancestors. You carry their strength." Cole's jaw tightened. "It has kept me alive, yes. But it is not just the device. It is the choice to resist. That is what matters." For a long moment, the queen studied him in silence. Then she stepped back, her serpents uncoiling fully. "Very well," she said. "If your will is so strong, then perhaps it is time you see the truth behind my empire." She gestured, and the floor shifted beneath them. A hidden passage opened, leading to a room filled with humming machines and glowing panels. Cole stepped inside carefully. "This is the heart of my power," the queen said. "It is what allows me to rule the galaxy. Psychic dominance, control of energy flows, surveillance of every sector. All of it depends on this core." Cole studied the glowing orb at the center of the room. It radiated immense power, pulsing with a rhythm almost like a heartbeat. He realized instantly this was the source of her influence, her psychic reach. Without it, her control over the empire would falter. "You rely on fear to command loyalty," he said quietly. "But if this core fails—" The queen's eyes flickered, but she did not respond. Cole took a careful step forward. "I'm not here to steal your power," he said. "I am here to give you a choice. Step down voluntarily, reform your empire, or risk losing it all to the consequences of a failing core." The queen's serpents hissed softly, sensing the tension in the room. She studied him closely. For the first time, she did not move like a ruler. She moved like someone weighing her options. "You understand the fragility of power," she said finally. "Few do. Most are blinded by it, crushed under it. But you see beyond strength. That is why you survived." Cole nodded. "I see what strength can do, and what it should never do. Ruling through fear destroys more than it protects. You can still lead, yes, but in a way that inspires rather than intimidates." The queen stepped closer to the core, her eyes fixed on the glowing orb. Her hands hovered above it, but she did not touch it. "I had hoped someone might see this. Someone might challenge me without needing to destroy me." Cole studied her face. There was a flicker of weariness in her eyes, something almost human beneath the alien exterior. "You've ruled for centuries," he said. "It must be exhausting." "It is," she admitted. "And yet no one dared to question me until now." Cole took a slow breath. "I'm not your enemy, but I cannot stand by while fear rules." The queen studied him for a long time, her serpents coiling tightly around her feet. Then she exhaled slowly, a sound like wind through silver leaves.
Perhaps.
It is time for change. She turned from the core and looked directly at him. You have shown me courage, wisdom, and restraint. You have survived what no one else could. I will not destroy you, or your people. Instead, I will consider your words. Cole nodded. That is all I ask. Consider them and act on them. Freedom is worth it. The queen's serpents shifted again, moving to stand beside her as she observed the room. Very well, she said finally. Tomorrow we will speak before the delegates. You will have your say, and I will listen. Cole felt a rush of relief. The tension in the room, the weight of expectation had eased slightly, but he also knew the galaxy had not yet fully changed. This was a pivotal moment, the beginning of a shift in the balance of power. He looked at the glowing core one last time. Its rhythm was steady, but he knew it was fragile. He had seen the cracks in what had seemed invincible. He had survived the arena, outwitted illusions, and faced the queen herself without yielding. Now the next step would be a test not of strength, but of diplomacy, courage, and moral conviction. Preparing for the council, Cole returned to the human delegation's quarters later that evening. Ambassador Lee was waiting, pacing nervously. What happened? She asked as soon as he entered. I've seen the truth, Cole said simply. The queen's power depends on a core. If it fails, her empire could collapse. But she is willing to listen. She is not as unyielding as we thought. Lee let out a long breath. So you survived. And now she might actually consider peace? Cole nodded. Yes, but we have to be careful. This is delicate. One wrong word, one wrong move, and everything could fall apart. They spent hours planning. Cole knew the delegates would be watching, and the queen would be observing his every word. He would need to speak carefully, clearly, and with unwavering conviction. Humanity's fate and the future of the galaxy depended on it. The night before the council. That night, Cole stood alone at a balcony overlooking the alien city. The streets glowed with green light, the crystal towers reflecting the sky above. He could hear faint sounds of alien life moving through the city below, but nothing seemed threatening. He touched the band on his wrist. Its glow was soft now, a reminder of the journey he had taken, the arena, the trials, the illusions. They had all led to this point. Tomorrow he would stand before the queen and the entire galaxy to speak not as a soldier, but as a representative of humanity. He thought of his homeworld, the friends he had lost, the people he had sworn to protect. He thought of the countless civilizations under the queen's rule, many living in fear. I won't fail them, he whispered. I can't. Above, the stars shimmered in the alien sky. Cole felt a sense of purpose stronger than fear. The path ahead was uncertain, but he had survived the impossible already. The infinite arena had tested his strength, his mind, and his courage. Now it was time to test his heart. The grand hall of the Hall of Crowns shimmered under soft green and silver light. Alien delegates from countless worlds had gathered once more. They whispered among themselves, their many voices forming a hum that filled the vast chamber. Every eye turned to the center platform where Sergeant Nathan Cole now stood, ready to speak. The alien queen sat upon her crystal throne, her serpents coiled quietly at her feet. Her eyes glimmered, reflecting the soft light of the hall. This was the moment the galaxy had waited for. A human who had stood alone against her, who had survived the infinite arena, who now had the chance to speak and shape the future. Cole took a deep breath. He remembered every trial he had faced, the stone guardians, the mirrored illusions, the monstrous beasts, and the queen's psychic onslaught. Each challenge had tested his strength, his courage, and his will. But now it was a test of something different, his words. He stepped forward. The crowd hushed, sensing the importance of what was about to unfold. I stand before you, Cole began, his voice steady. Not as a conqueror, not as a soldier seeking revenge, but as a representative of humanity and of freedom. He looked at the queen, then back at the audience. All beings in this galaxy deserve the right to live without fear. Rule through fear is not leadership. Rule through understanding and cooperation is strength. A ripple went through the delegates. Some nodded, others murmured quietly. The queen's serpents shifted slightly but remained still. She listened as she had not often listened, with curiosity and attention. Cole continued. I have seen the power of your empire. I have faced it and survived. But I have also seen the cost, The fear, the quiet suffering, the lives lost because no one dared to speak. It doesn't have to be this way. You can choose another path. One of respect, one of alliance, one of peace. Humanity is willing to stand beside you, to work with you, not against you. The hall was silent. Every creature present waited for her response. The queen leaned forward slightly, studying him. Her eyes reflected both the weight of centuries and the flicker of something new. Perhaps hope, perhaps the possibility of change. "You speak boldly," she said at last. Her voice echoed through the chamber. "Yet your words carry truth. Few have the courage to stand against fear, and even fewer have the wisdom to offer an alternative. You have shown both, Nathan Cole." Cole's jaw tightened, but he kept his posture. "I speak for all.